My name is Oliver Queen. For 5 years, I'll strand on an island with only one goal: survive. Now I'll fulfill my father's dying wish to use the list of names he left me and bring down those who are poisoning my city. To do this, I must become someone else. I must listen to Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast where we follow two readers who are reading for the first time Sheta and Justin as we chronicle their journey through Transcendence Cosmere series. On today's episode, we'll be chronicling Mistborn, the Well of Ascension, chapters 28 through 33. And now let's throw it over the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe. Why, thank you, Joe. Welcome, everyone. And yep, as you heard, this is Cosmere Chronicles. I am Joe, and I'm once again joined by Justin and the other one.
Haha, you're the other one this time.
Oh,
I've become
doesn't
more
feel
popular
good.
in the algorithm, Sheta. The other one.
I don't know how many votes we get, but we could set up a poll. Who is your favorite member?
Oh, don't do that. That's just asking for trouble.
No, it'll cause
You're gonna
infighting.
fuck some people up with that one.
Whoever gets the most votes gets $50.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, so that's how it is, Sheta. We'll see how many nightmare shippers are won.
We'll just throw Nick in since he was on the one episode and he'll win.
He'll win! God damn it!
Yeah, Nick is much more popular than me.
Well, I don't want to do
All right.
this poll anymore. In fact, I forbid the poll.
All right, no poll. It's been killed. Thanks, audience. Okay, well, with that, let's go into the questions that and getting to know us and stuff that people probably don't really care about.
AKA the fast forward section? According to the way you always build it down.
Well, I think it's always exciting.
Who knows? Maybe people like it. I think it's interesting. That's
There's
why
at
I
least
do it.
one guy who only tunes in for that and doesn't listen to the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, probably a stalker of some sort, though, so I wouldn't get excited.
All right. What's your favorite video game series? I don't think I've done that one.
Well, probably Mass Effect or Doom.
Video game series?
Mass Effect, not counting Andromeda, which I don't know that I really consider that part of it. But those original 3 games, some of the best games ever put to codingness.
Even with the original Mass Effect 3 ending?
The franchise is so good I can forgive so very much. That's just a testament to how good the rest of those games are.
Well, I don't know.
Well, Sheta thinks I can throw out mine. Mine would probably be Kingdom Hearts. I have played those games multiple times and I've gotten pretty good at it.
It's a good one, too.
And even other people out there, they don't like Chain of Memories. I really like it, and I've played that one multiple times too.
Well, I guess I'll have to say Mass Effect as well. I would say Dragon Age, but I really only like the first game, so I'll just go with Mass Effect.
I guess the question was series, not game.
Yeah. I love Mass Effect. I really enjoy the multiplayer fight style and all the characters and role-playing stuff is fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then I guess let's stay with Mass Effect since we went with that. So, in Mass Effect, what's your go-to romance in that game?
Go-to romance?
What's the one you prefer the most if you were playing?
Well, definitely Jacob. No, not Jacob. Anyone who's played those games and tried to romance Jacob and tried to play Mass Effect 3 knows that that's obviously not the answer.
No matter what you do, he cheats on you.
Yes. Don't get too attached to him.
And he acts like it's your fault. Like you.
He does not do that, no.
He does. He's like, well, you weren't there for me or something. And made you feel bad about it.
Why are you
saying that? You never did that romance. I've done it. It was horrible. No,
weren't you only like arrested for like a year or something like that?
Yeah, no, it's fucking stupid.
It's a year, and within that time, he's already gotten a new girlfriend and knocked her up.
Yep.
Wow.
He really did not wait long to get out of that relationship. All right, but really, your favorite go-to
Um,
romance?
Mine is Garrus, of course. Best
Yeah, I know.
character in the whole game series.
Yeah, I'm personally going to go with Miranda. I like that, hot, bitchy, mean girl character. Also, part of a weird pro-human supremacist group. All kinds of interesting, fun stuff there.
I will say, I played the games once, and when I did it, I did romance Liara, but my go-to would probably be Miranda, because I did try to romance her, but it failed in the second. So then it's...
Oh.
And then since Liara's just DLC only romance, so it's like, well, I still had a backup.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I preferred Miranda in the game. I liked her character, but yeah, I guess I did not start romancing her early enough in the game.
Well, you can trigger the scene still after the suicide mission if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, there you
I was just playing it through and seeing what happened. When people died in my suicide mission, I didn't restart the mission to make different choices. They were dead.
Well, yeah, of course. Of course, that's the best way to do it.
So I did not have Tali in the third game.
Same with Sheta. She didn't have Tali either.
And I know exactly what decisions I made that fucked that shit up. I took all the strongest...
I've played that game 6 times, and I still have not gotten to romance Tali. She very well may be my favorite when I finally get a gameplay where my character would romance her.
What about Caden?
Well, Caden's a pretty good romance.
Yeah, but how many times have you finished the third game with him alive?
0.
0 out of 6.
0 out of 6. Caden never survives. I got a romance all the way to the end of the game, and then he died on the final run. So that was the closest he's ever gotten.
Oh,
And that's not planned out. That's all just how it goes.
you hate him.
Did you ever do a mission where you try to get through Mass Effect 2 with the least amount or play Mass Effect 3 with the least amount of characters on your squad?
No, I think the minimum, it's like, you can go pretty low. I have gotten the most characters, or everyone who cannot die in Mass Effect 3 killed on the suicide mission, which I thought was funny, and then everyone else died in Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, because do you need at least 3 people to survive, or 2 other people to survive?
You just need 2 others, yes.
Yeah. Or did you ever do the romance that kills you?
Yeah, but just as a joke. I knew that I was going to restart.
Ooh,
Morinth, Samara's Ardat Yakshi daughter.
I see.
If you recruit her, you can go hook up with her and be like, I'll survive, don't worry. And you do not, and you get a critical mission failure.
Well, part of it, she went along with it. She knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, she liked doing that, so.
Well, she doomed the whole universe.
The Reapers got it easy. All right, well, that's all our stuff talking about Mass Effect and everything. Hey, if people out there play Mass Effect, if you have a favorite character to romance, let us know. Email us or leave us a comment.
Quite a thing to email over.
I romanced.
Now we'll go back to the Well of Ascension. We'll start off with a recap of last week's chapters. This time, it's Sheta's turn. Please don't take as long. Because last time it was about 4 to 5 minutes.
Alright. Do you mind starting me off?
Nope, you got to do it yourself.
So I think that started with Elend telling the crew about the Koloss.
Is that the time where they...
You're not making this fast, Sheta. That was your order.
I don't remember.
Elend
Justin's
gets back.
never prepared.
Elend gets back from the meeting with Straff? Or no?
Or, not Elend. I meant...
Yeah, because the first
Okay,
meeting... Yeah, first meeting is Seiza's telling them about the Koloss, and Orianne is spying on them.
I see, okay. Yes, that happens. Then Vin and Elend go to see Straff and finally meet with him. Straff is a terrible person. Elend almost gets killed, but him and Vin do a badass thing and they actually get out with their lives. Then don't remember what else. Don't Vin and them go shopping, and Vin and Twindle talk about some stuff.
There's also something that very important happens when Elend and them return to the city after meeting Straff.
Oh yes, Elend gets dethroned. Apparently the council has voted him like incompetent, and then they just, yep, that's what happened. He is no longer king.
There you go.
Okay.
See, there's your review. So this week we started up part 3 of Well of Ascension. So as usual, I'll ask you, what are your guys' like initial like quick thoughts and feelings about these chapters?
I'm going to say something that I think everyone's sick of hearing. I liked it. It was pretty good.
Yes, I enjoyed them as well. I really like seeing. Well, I guess I'll just save it for later. Sorry.
You
You're
better
not
be.
sorry. Well, let's just go right into these chapters. Like I said, we're starting part 3 of the book, and part 3 is called King. So we're starting off with chapter 28. Epigraph. He left ruin in his wake, but it was forgotten. He created kingdoms and then destroyed them as he made the world anew.
Who hasn't? From time to time.
Raoden didn't do that.
Well, we'll see now that he's king. Maybe he did since then.
Alright, so the chapter begins, and Tindwyl is complaining to Elend about the fact that he put a clause into his own government that allows the assembly to legally depose the king. Elend explains that he put that in there purposefully, so that way they wouldn't have another situation like the Lord Ruler. He wanted to have some sort of like check on the king. And Tindwyl calls this idiocy.
It's interesting because in one way it is, but for what Ellen's trying to build, it's not. So it's really interesting. He's probably planning further ahead than this time period they're in unrest and chaos needs.
Yeah, this is very forward thinking and like modern of him to think.
Mm-hmm.
He's really
It
trying to
might
push
be-
that.
Yeah. I wonder if it's too forward thinking or if it's going to turn out being a good thing,
Well, it just takes one person and with enough power to say that, That's how our country was founded and stuff, with thoughts like that. Really
Yeah,
radical,
but that was after we'd finished the war, That's when we
Well-
let everything settle down and get official,
And it was also their second attempt. There was first the Confederacy, and then that didn't work, so then they switched to the Constitution. Or
Oh, try again.
Well, yeah, of course, but if they had all this like bureaucracy and like even you could just call it freedom during the war, I don't know that we would have won, especially against a more tyrannical rule like that.
well, also we won due to other circumstances happening in Europe and stuff like that. I think it was like a war in Gibraltar had started or something like that, which had England pull away a lot of their troops. And
No, we won because of grit alone, Joe. I will hear nothing else.
And spunkiness.
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, we will. Let's go away from the American Revolution since that's not what this is about. All right, so the crew tries to come up with a plan in order to prevent Elend losing his throne and to force Elend to stay as king. Club says that he can use the military and call martial law, but Elend says no. He's not going to use force in order to go against the very laws that he wrote. Tindwyl tells Elend not to be a fool, and Elend yells back at her not to call him a fool for voicing his opinion.
Ooh, I really like that part. I finally started to have respect for Elend in this chapter, in this segment. He seems to actually care about the stuff he cares about for real.
Yeah, so the assembly has 1 month to vote in a new king, and nothing says that they cannot vote in the previous king. And if they cannot come to a decision within a month, then the crown reverts back to Elend for at least 1 year. And Elend says that he will get the crown back legally, and if he can't, then he will accept their decision and will still try to help out the city. He does also think that this could possibly have been a plan set into motion by either Straff or Cett, and they will have someone chosen as king that will help them. During the meeting, Breeze and Ham bicker like they usually do, and Orseer whispers to Vin that meetings would be a lot more productive if they weren't there. He suggests that he could eat one of them as a bit of contra humor. He does say that one of them is named Ham, and the other one does enjoy marinating himself.
Cute. I love Orseer.
Vin watches as Elend is poring over multiple books, and she sees that he is still the same man. He is the man that loved her before he knew that she was a Mistborn, and he loved her when he found out she was a thief. She just needs to keep remembering that. Elend is noting that this would be a lot easier if he wasn't so skilled at writing the law. He's not finding loopholes and stuff in there to exploit. After everyone leaves, Tindwyl stays behind and apologizes to Elend, and he accepts. And she asks how he had allowed this to happen, and Ella explains that he had ignored the assembly. Even with the assembly, they still deserved respect and stuff like that. And then Tyndall asks Elend how things went with Straff, and Elend says that they scared him, but that Elend also must have upset Vin somehow. Tyndall tells Elend that Vin doesn't want to marry him because she thinks that she isn't worthy of him. Elend finds this nonsense, and Tyndall says that he doesn't understand. Vin is insecure and isn't convinced that she deserves to be happy at all. She knows this because she herself has raised a number of daughters. Tyndall tells Elend that his relationship with Vin will be difficult and present more problems than if he had a more conventional woman. Elend says that he isn't looking for a conventional woman, and Tyndall responds that she isn't implying that he should. She merely wants him to decide how much he will let Vin distract him. Tyndall had asked Elend how things went with Straff, and all Elend wanted to talk about was how Vin felt. Tyndall asks Elend which is more important to him, Vin's love or the good of the people. Elend refuses to answer, and Tyndall says that it is a question that most kings must face. Elend says that he had studied too many hypothetical dilemmas to be caught in a trap like that, but Tyndall says that she already sees a dilemma and it is not hypothetical. And that's where that chapter ends.
More drama about the relationship. Now from Tyndall's point of view, I really like that.
That's another ongoing theme, so I'm very curious where it's going to go about, them drifting
If Vin
apart
is-
but trying to stay together, as they go to such different paths,
Yeah. I like this kind of drama because I like relationship stuff, but I like intrigue and politics stuff too, so it has to do with that. Like, not only like won't they get married and stuff, but they have to figure it out now because if Elend wants to be king, he needs a queen, And will Vin become queenly enough in time?
All right, so you said will they or won't they get married? So that's what I'll ask you. Will Elend and Vin be married before the end of this book?
100% no.
Really?
100% no.
Whoa. I want it to be that, and I think they will get married.
Yeah.
I think they will, but I don't think it will be good. I think it will be kind of like rushed and forced.
The only reason they'd get married is if one of them needs to go off to die immediately after.
Sheta, I thought you wanted Vin to get with Zane.
I do, but I think she'll really want to get with Zane, but to prove to herself that she loves Elend, she'll just marry him. Because I
That's
feel
a
like that happens
terrible
all the
idea.
time. I know, but she's gonna do it because she's gonna feel so guilty about liking Zane. And it will be for the good of the people, and she'll feel like she has to because of duty.
I don't know how much Vin cares about the people, Sheta. I have never once heard her say something about, the people, She seems to actually kind of really dislike them. She'd prefer to just leave,
In the last chapter, remember when she was acting all heroic for the people? It just came out.
And she was like, why am I even talking like that?
See, then she's gonna be like, why did I marry Elend?
But she only was acting heroic. She tried to leave through the back of the building until Tyndall said, no, go out there and face them.
Yeah, Sheta, all I said is I don't think she cares about the people. I'm not commenting on the marriage thing.
Oh, okay.
I just think it's interesting that I've never heard her say, how a lot of the other people think, She only seems to really care about the people she cares about, and they care about that, so she cares about that,
Yeah, that's why I think it's likely that she would just leave with Zane. Because she could drop... If Elend dies, she'll just, leave. She's not gonna care.
No, if Elend dies, she will go on a killing spree, just like Kelsier did, and become Kelsier. No, and become Kelsier. Take whatever mission he had to, bring pain to all those who hurt him, I really believe that what they said about if Elend's harmed, she will go kill Straff,
All right. Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
No.
So next, we're on to chapter 29. There were other proofs to connect Elend to the Hero of Ages. Smaller things. Things that only one trained in the lore of the Anticipation would have noticed. The birthmark on his arm. The way his hair turned gray when he was barely 25 years of age. The way he spoke. The way he treated people. The way he ruled. He simply seemed to fit.
Oh, good enough for me.
Interesting that that's the opposite of what's happening with Vin. She feels like she doesn't fit.
And it's interesting with what Sazed, I think, no, not Sazed, Orseer, one of them says in a little bit about, yeah, I think it's Orseer, about prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll say when we get to it.
Okay.
So, Vin and Orseer are on the roof of Keep Hasting, and Orseer asks Vin if she ever sleeps. She has been burning pewter to keep herself awake, so she only sleeps about 3 to 4 hours a night. Orseer tells her that cannot be healthy, and Vin thinks about how hard it is to sleep while feeling the thumping, and it seems to be getting closer and louder. Vin is waiting on the top of Keep Hasting, hoping that Zane would show up for a spar. Orseer tells her that she shouldn't let him influence her so much, but Vin points out that Zane still hasn't attacked Elend, so he isn't fully under Straff's control. Orseer says that her fixation on Zane is disconcerting. Orseer doesn't like Zane. And kandra have a good sense of character, and Zane makes him feel uncomfortable. Vin thinks about how Orseer and Elend are not Allomancers, so they just couldn't understand.
I think that what Vin's reading into this about, not understanding and that stuff, that bond she wants that she had with somebody like Kelsier, I think she's putting a lot more into that than there actually is there.
Oh, yeah. This is just like the first step of somebody defending a bad person for them like that. Like, by coming up with all these, like a whole story about why they're not like everyone is saying.
I mean, she wants that bond she had with another Mistborn so badly,
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if she actually got to know Zane, she'd think, oh, I was just wrong. This guy doesn't have any of that stuff,
And Vin, she looks over at Orseer, and she tells him that he can get rid of the dog bones now. She'll let him use the bones of a criminal because she doesn't want him to be in a body that makes him unhappy. But Orseer responds by saying that he will keep the dog bones. He also says that they should go back to the palace because he still needs to sleep. And Vin thinks about how Orseer complains more now than he used to.
Yay, he's getting his own little personality. I really like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. He was so boring at first, and now he's got a whole thing going.
Yeah, he's all sassy. He's all like expressing himself and his feelings instead of just referring to the contract every time he has a feeling, I like him. I'm glad he's getting comfortable with his own skin, so to speak.
All right, Vin thinks about how Elend is trying to keep his kingship, and his attempts to dismiss the original vote or have a revote have failed. She says that she wishes that he wasn't so noble at times, because the city doesn't need this confusion. But Orseer says that Elend did the right thing. Elend had a contract, and he is not breaking that contract. As they are leaving, Vin looks out into the mist at Straff's army, and a realization jumps out at her. And she says that she thinks she realized what the deepness was. And we end the chapter there. Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
I just went to the next chapter to figure out what the deepness was.
Same. I just moved on immediately.
What is it? What is it?
All right, well, then we will just move on with chapter 30. But I must continue with the sparsest of details. Space is limited. The other Worldbringers must have thought themselves humble when they came to me, admitting that they had been wrong. Even then, I was beginning to doubt my original declaration. But I was prideful. Alright, so we begin with Sazed, and he's in his quarters going over Quan's writing. He reads what we've already read in some of the other epigraphs, that like stuff how they show that Elendi was short in stature but seemed to tower over others. And Sazed is impressed by how much Quan was able to fit on the slate. He reads some more about
That's
how Quan...
exactly what I was thinking. I was like, man, this Quan guy must write really small. And at the same time, man, this Quan guy also sure does waste a lot of time repeating himself, too.
Well, we also don't know exactly what sort of length, because Sazed is also having to translate it, so maybe he's writing in some sort of like different characters that can say a lot more with a lot less space.
Yeah, a lot more, but he doesn't actually say that much in there. He's just like, oh God, what I really think I fucked up, man. Like over and over again. Like, oh man, this could be real fucking bad. Oh shit.
Stupid. You make it sound like some like neurotic junkie or something.
And then Sazed reads some more about how Quan was proclaimed the announcer, and if he renounced Elendi, then he'd lose his own position. But now Quan renounces Elendi and calls himself a fraud. And Vin arrives at Sazed's window, and it's locked, and he opens up and lets her in. And she says that he should leave his window open because Elend got upset with her for breaking so many latches.
I wouldn't leave my window open. There's fucking Mistborn out there. I was very surprised at Vin for that statement.
Yeah, well, she doesn't think of that. She just wants to be able to not have to use a door.
Yeah.
Also, if a Mistborn wanted to get in your window, they would just get in.
Well, yeah, but give them that one little extra hard part. Maybe they'll fuck up and put some noise by accident.
No, you're supposed to rely on your Mistborn to take care of other Mistborns.
Yeah, well, mine doesn't have any atrium left.
Atrium.
Atium.
And so Vin looks at what Sazed, the writings that Sazed's going over, and she is excited to see that it mentions the deepness. And then Vin goes to sit on a chair, but she sits on the top of the chair with her feet resting on the cushion. She just can't sit in it like a normal person, which is kind of like Kelsier, because he would sit in chairs AC Slater style.
Yes, I was going to say that too. Not exactly like how you said it, Joe, but just that, yeah, Kelsier was always leaning on stuff and being perched on stuff, so I thought that was cute. Mistborn are like cool, like hip types. They don't live by the same rules that we do.
They don't follow the rules of chairs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
No
Like
chair will make a master out of me.
Like Kelsier said, Mistborn are very mysterious. Then Vin asks Sazed what the deepness was, and he answers that it is not exactly known. Some scholars believe that it was just concocted by the Lord Ruler, but Vin points out that the logbook and the rubbings Sazed has mentions the deepness. And Sazed says that people who believe that the deepness was real think it could be the Lord Ruler's official story, that it was a horrible supernatural beast or a dark god. Others believe that it was something mundane like an army or invaders from another land. But then Vin says that the deepness was the mist, and Sazed says that that has been theorized as well. The issue is that the Lord Ruler was said to have defeated the deepness, but the mist is still here. Also, the deepness was said to be terrible and destructive, but the mist does not display this danger. Vin points out the mist are killing people now, and maybe the Lord Ruler had defeated the deepness, but something happened when they killed him. But Sazed counters that many of the dead are elderly or sickly, and a lot of people are still left alone by the mist.
I was really glad when Sazed said people have theorized that. When she said she thought it was that, I was really worried he was going to be like, my God, no one ever thought of that. And I'd be like, somebody would definitely think about that. So when he just says it matter-of-factly, like you would in real life, like, yeah, people have thought that, I thought it was funny that she felt bad, like, what? Oh,
I felt like
she's not a great philosopher or thinker or anything,
I was kind of abashed when Sazed said that.
Well, he didn't know he was going to hurt her feelings by saying that.
Yeah, but he's like, yep, I bet you think you're real clever for thinking that.
That's not how he said that.
I did. I'm like, I think it's the mist, actually. Like, cut back to, like, our first section about this. Like, the deepness is the mist. Like, that's... Alright.
Alright, and then Vin asked what would happen if the mist came out all day. There'd be no light, and plants would die, and people would starve. The logbook only mentions that people died because of the deepness, but doesn't mention people being attacked by the deepness. So Vin is convinced that the deepness was just the mist had gone over the land, people were starving because of it, and that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like that theory a lot. I think that's really good. I'm kind of sad I never thought of that, because that seems like a pretty obvious thing to realize. Because we pretty much know that the deepness has something to do with the mist, because they've implied multiple times that there used to be, normal plants and stuff. This is not the natural way, So the idea that it's something that's been held at bay is a really interesting idea to me. That this is like just, the better version of what it would be at its worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then Sazed brings up that the hero implies that he can sense sentience to the deepness. However, the mist isn't alive. But Vin brings up the passage where the hero saw a being in the mist, and she also tells Sazed that she has seen this mist spirit too. Then Sazed points out that when the hero saw this being, he didn't call it the Deepness. He treated it as if it was something else.
If Vin told me that, I would be taking it a lot more seriously. I would be like, let's drop everything and figure this out right now, because that sounds fucking horrifying.
Yeah, but this is still all within Sazed's character from what we know.
Well, I'm saying I would, not Sazed would. Sazed does not seem like the most creative. He seems more like, stuck
Scholarly.
in, yeah.
Like he would...
In facts,
Yeah.
Ideas and theories don't really seem to do much for him. I think he even says something similar to that in here.
Yes, I like that part.
And Vin says that the hero never did what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to go to the Well of Ascension and give up the power, but instead, Rashik killed him and took the power for himself. And now the Mist are coming out in the day and killing people. It's like events are happening again, so maybe that means the Hero of Ages will have to come again. Sazed doesn't know if they could even identify the Hero of Ages when the previous terrorists that knew their own religion had trouble properly identifying the hero. And then Vin brings up Tindwyl, and she mentions that Tindwyl doesn't like Sazed. But Sazed says that Tindwyl is simply disappointed in him. Since he was a keeper, and he was risking everything when he went against the Lord Ruler. Because, he could have been caught and tortured and told them where all the other keepers are, that stuff. And also, if he died, all his knowledge that he had in his metal mines would just be lost. And Vin says that she doesn't like Tindwyl, and that Tindwyl is too hard on people. But Sazed says not to judge her harshly because she has had a hard life herself. Tindwyl spent most of her life as a terrorist mother. She has birthed over 20 children, each time with a different father. Since she was 14, she has spent her life being taken by strange men until she became pregnant. Vin wonders how Tindwyl was able to handle it, and Sazed says that she suffered it because she was a keeper. By doing this, she had helped secretly spread feruchemy through her children.
How old is Tindwyl? Did we hear before?
I'm going to guess like 40s, maybe 50s, something like that.
And how old is Sazed?
Like 40s, I believe.
Oh, so he's pretty old too. Okay.
Yeah. But in the last 10 years, after her childbearing years were over, Tindwyl was able to join and gain fellowship with the other keepers. She is now part of the Synod, which are the rulers of the terrace. In comparison to her, the rest of the terrace have known a life of freedom. And that's where that chapter ends.
I was really sad by Tindwyl's backstory. It sounded really scary and sad.
Yeah, we had heard since the first book about the terrace breeding programs, but now we see... We had seen the horror of it from all the guys being eunuchs, but now you see the other half of the horror of it, of what it's like to be one of the women that are just forced to
taken
breed.
by strange men from 14 to 40-something.
Yeah.
That was quite an interesting way to put it.
She's had 20 children, too? Was that right?
Yeah, over 20, he said.
Over 20, oh my gosh. So you're just pregnant for your whole life, it sounds like. Oh my goodness.
It's not like you get to keep those kids or anything.
No. Well, she said she raised them. So.
Yeah, but for how long?
But also, it's not having a lot of kids by...
Or...
Yeah, it's not having a lot of kids by choice. It's, all right, we want some more terrorists, so... All right, you will have sex with this guy. I've never met him. Who cares? Just to have a baby. Yeah, it's...
I wonder what the...
breeding programs are not good. I do not endorse them.
I think Yeah. I'm going to say a very controversial opinion here and say I agree with you.
I want to hear from the terracemen who are the ones that are part of the breeding program.
What, like the males?
Yeah, the males. Yeah.
Probably the same thing. You're probably just raised, I'm going to guess like raised, kept alone, then brought in. It's like, all right, have sex with this woman. Have sex with this woman. All right. With the guys then, do they breed their entire life, or do they reach a point at like age 40, be like, all right, you're done, and then they get castrated?
Well, I don't know, because guys can do it pretty much from what I've read indefinitely. So I imagine you'd have, if they're breeding good stock like you want, you'd keep them around, I'd assume.
Does it say in this chapter too that Tindwyl, like all her kids, like she's actually the worst type to breed because she has the powers?
Yeah, that's why he said that's why she was able to handle it so well because she was a keeper, so she knew that by doing this, she was secretly spreading the ferochemy. So
Mhm.
That's a
she was
nice.
she was breaking what the breeding program was designed to do to keep ferochemy out of the population, and she was actually spreading it.
I would
And,
be so thankful for a secret like that.
and it was
To
also
give you some
mentioning,
purpose for doing it instead of just being a slave.
Yeah, I'd be like, it's a big F you to everyone every time.
Hmm.
I would be so grateful for that.
and
Yeah.
I think he had mentioned it there. The Lord Ruler believed that he had finally gotten rid of all ferochemy, so now he was like trying to breed them to make them more timid or stuff like that. If you needed more reason to hate the Lord Ruler, there's to get more in depth to the breeding programs. Just remember, Lord Ruler was not a good person.
No one was saying he was here.
Like maybe he had some good ideas.
Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
Not for moi.
Mm-mm.
So, chapter 31. In the end, my pride may have doomed us all. So, we begin
That's
the
something I
chapter.
hope to never say in my life. It's like one of the worst things to find yourself thinking.
All right, so we begin the chapter, and we're in the POV of a new character, Phylon Frando, which we had seen him
Oh
a
yeah,
very time.
Phylon.
We did see him very small in an earlier assembly meeting. He is a merchant that's kind of a jackass. So Phylon is a self-hating ska, but he doesn't view himself as a ska because he is a merchant. And he had made money before the collapse, and now he is making a lot of money and is one of the richest men in the kingdom.
Yeah, Joe, why do you be Phylon like that? Where's this self-hating star coming from? He's a self-loving merchant. Totally different.
Oh man, I knew this guy would be your favorite character, Justin.
I did not say that. I think this guy is so annoying. Unlike
Oh,
Straff, who has everything that he says makes him so lame. This guy is just lame. He just is lame.
yeah,
He's
and
stupid and petty, and he's just everything annoying.
yeah, and like those, that little bit I said about Phylon, that is like a page and a half, just going
Yeah.
over how much he hates Ska and
And
finds
that's
him
it.
better
Him
than them.
taking when you go in his head and you see just how much he thinks about about this stuff, it makes him so annoying so quickly. I am clearly I think Brandon wants you to think Straff and the Lord pieces garbage and they deserve to die. But a guy like this, I think he wants you to just actively not like in any way.
Well, so far with Brandon's writing, he's really not making me like merchants. You had
Well,
King Iadin, you have
I don't know why
Phylon.
you would.
Then again, in the last book, Royal
Their
was a
existence
decent guy.
is literally to find out a smaller price and pay more for it. That's their whole existence.
This is a day of an assembly meeting, and Phylon looks at the crowd to see if the person that he snuck in is there. And Phylon doesn't like how normal people can come and watch the meeting, especially since, so many of them are Ska. Phylon, he thinks about how he was the one that had orchestrated the vote against Elend, and he believes that Elend doesn't even suspect this. After Penrod arrives, Phylon thinks about how Penrod was the hardest to convince to vote against Elend. Phylon thinks that Penrod likely believes that he will become king, but Phylon has plans against that. But he doesn't want to become king himself, though, because there's no money in that.
That sounds like a horrible way to make money. I did like that part.
And Phylon thinks about how, when Elend's there, he's going to give some weak speech about how he should stay king and how it's not fair and all that.
That was almost my quote, how he described that. Oh, we gotta be good to people. You guys shouldn't be so mean. Like, I thought it was so funny to sum up everything he says that way. Because even I think that sometimes when he talks.
Oh my god, I laughed out loud when he said that. When he was
Yeah.
doing Ellen's voice, right?
Yeah, that was so funny.
Oh my god! Now see, literally, like the
Yeah, now
voice
see
actor,
here.
like he did such a good job doing this guy thinking of how Ellen sounds. I just laughed so hard. Oh my god, it was really good.
All right. So Elend hasn't arrived yet, and Phylon thinks that all right, we'll just start this meeting. So he stands up to begin talking to the assembly, but then he is interrupted by Elend's arrival. And Elend has some grand, badass arrival where he opens the door. It's him wearing his white uniform, followed by Kelsier's crew, and it just makes Elend look a lot stronger. There's you have 2 terrorist people with them, very intimidating. So Elend gets there, and then he asks the assembly if they have elected a chancellor, but they have no idea what he is talking about. So Elend explains that the chancellor is the person who runs the assembly while they wait for a new king to be elected. And Elend nominates Penrod for this role, which then the assembly just agrees to that. So Elend just very quickly just showing them all up, being like, yeah, you guys have no idea what the fuck you're doing. So Elend is given the first opportunity to address the assembly, and he uses this time to discuss his meeting with Straff, which surprises the assembly. And since this is an open meeting and you have people watching, Elend thinks that the people are more interested in this than his defense of himself. And Elend explains how Straff won't attack because he had threatened Straff. This country was founded because of the survivor of Hathsin, and Elend has the survivor's apprentice, who is also the most powerful Mistborn alive. And Vin is uneasy, with Elend talking about this, but she knows that this is for the best. And Tindril explains to Vin that Kelsier is the most popular man in the Central Dominance, and that by tying Elend and the government to Kelsier, then people will think twice about meddling with it. And Vin thinks about how earlier she thought that she could be the hero of ages, but now she is worried about the notoriety that Elend is giving her. Vin looks over at Zane, who's also in the crowd, and she burns tin and studies his features. He unnerves her, but she also wants to know why he doesn't look at her. Then Zane does look at Vin and smiles before looking back at Elend. Vin felt a shiver and tells herself to focus and pay attention to Elend.
Oh my gosh. I can't handle it.
Why won't he look at me?
I gotta cast someone with just the most devious smile to be Zane. I'm so excited.
But also has to be someone that kind of looks like your Elend.
Yes. So Timothy Chalamet type, but more.
Oh yeah, because those are a dime a dozen, Sheta.
So after Elend finishes the report, he moves to leave the lectern, but Penrod asks if he has anything else to say. Elend explains that he sent his missive and that the people know who he is. He will defend himself if they have questions, but he's not going to stand and preach his virtues. Tindril is annoyed by this because they had prepared a speech, but Elend is deciding now not to give it. And then Elend asks Penrod if they should hold nominations, which confuses Penrod. Elend explains that each assembly member can nominate one person they want as king. After Elend sits down, a Ska assembly member nominates Penrod. After a few moments, Penrod then nominates Elend. And Breeze notes that Elend's plan was brilliant. By nominating Penrod to be Chancellor earlier, Elend has forced Penrod to nominate him as king, since that would be honorable. Now all the people who like Penrod will think that Penrod would prefer Elend as king. And then Vin is watching Phylon because she knows that Elend suspects him to be the one behind the vote. So Phylon's whole thing, thinking he doesn't even suspect me, is just wrong. Yeah, and after a long wait of the other merchants looking at Phylon and Phylon being like, all right, he stands up and says that he has a nomination. And he asks if the person must be a member of the assembly, and Elend says that it does not. So Phylon says that he nominates Ashweather Cett. And then in the crowd, a man removes his cloak and hood. And then Breeze, oh dear. Vin, it's actually him? And then Breeze says, oh, that's him. Lord Cett himself. I think we might be in trouble. And that's the chapter. So here we finally see Cett after hearing about him for 30 chapters.
I wonder the whole not knowing anything about him until this moment is so that if this was a TV show, we wouldn't guess that he was sitting in the audience because we'd know the actor.
Well, he still has a hood and stuff on.
Yeah, but we never would have guessed.
I'm the same. I'm surprised they I just kind of started thinking this guy was never going to show up. I definitely didn't expect him to be in the audience like that.
I think that's what I like about this moment so much is you hear about him so much. So yeah, like you're saying, at some point it just feels like, well, he's just going to be a guy they talk about, just some guy you'd never see. When he shows up here, it's like, oh, fuck. And you would never expect Cett to not only... You would not expect his first appearance to be, yep, I'm just in Luthadel now.
Yeah.
Not hiding with my army. So, anything else in this chapter you two want to go over?
Not right now. Yeah.
I'm kind of annoyed with a crowd where they allow people like Zane and Set to sneak in.
Yeah. Who's in charge of guarding this place?
Well, Set wasn't hiding. He just walked in, I think.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, it's open to the public. Okay, like easy to
Set
get
was
in. They don't even
Set
do
was
a
the
pat
one where
down or what.
Set had to be, at least Zane could just jump over the walls. Set had to be snuck in through the city walls that should be under lockdown. This
Yeah.
is due to filing, because he said he snuck him in.
Well, now we have our theories from the next couple chapters.
So we'll go on to chapter 32. I have never received much attention from my brethren. They thought that my work and my interest were unsuitable to a world bringer. They couldn't see how my work, studying nature instead of religion, benefited the people of the 14 lands. To be fair, his work of studying nature had to do with wondering if trees could think.
What?
You don't remember that from the first book, like the one little thing where in the
No.
logbook he mentioned.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I mentioned Kwan, and when I first met him when he was in Millennium, studying if trees could think.
Yeah, I remember now.
Is he a hat?
Well, maybe they can. It's old-timey times. Who knows?
Maybe they're ints. Yeah.
Or they can't think, and he's just fucking weird.
Yeah. He's just a weird hippie type.
Alright, so chapter begins, and Vin watches as a group of 30 people that are disguised as Ska surround Set as guards. And then some of them pick up his chair and carry him onto the stage. And Breeze explains to Vin that Set is a cripple. And he was also the most powerful noble in his area, and the final empire was pretty much like hundreds of different courts, with hundreds of little lord rulers. And then Penrod asks Set if he wishes to address the assembly, but Set says that he already is. And he says that they should make him king, because he has an army on their damn doorstep. His army is here, and he intends to take the city, but he'd rather they just give it to him. A nobleman asks what is to stop them from taking him hostage, and Set answers that if he isn't back in his camp this evening, then his army has orders to attack and raze the city. They'll probably then get destroyed by Straff, but, Set will be dead, and so will most of the people here, so it won't really matter to them.
I don't like him.
Well, he's very blunt.
He's too cocky. I don't like him at all.
And Elend asks if he actually expects them to name him king, and Set says that his army and their army together then would easily hold against Straff and the Koloss army. Then whispers start in the crowd, and Set notes out loud that Elend hasn't told them about the Koloss army. Elend says that Set isn't honorable, and Set asks Elend if he has been having his Allomancer soothing the assembly. And Elend looks at Breeze and says yes. Then Set tells the assembly that if they give him the crown, then they will get to keep their titles, and those that don't have titles will get titles. Things will go back to the way they were with Ska working in the nobles' administration. Set says that he will want to meet with each of the assembly over the next 2 weeks, and then Elend says that he will just bribe them, which Set confirms. Set also wants to stay in the city with 5,000 troops. The assembly finds this too much, and they vote, and they allow him to come in with 1,000.
I was like, no, you can't stay here. You're the enemy. I can't believe they allowed him. Like, with troops too? Like, you can stay in our jail cell, but you can, why would you let him take up residence? This whole thing made me so mad because they worked so hard.
I think it's supposed to.
Well, they can't just jail him because then they'll be attacked by his army.
He shouldn't have been in here in the first place.
And, you should give him residence. I mean, he's on your democratic ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
You can't just start imprisoning political rivals.
All true.
Especially with Elend, with how he's trying to do everything above board. He's not going to start doing that.
Yeah, no, that's why this is swinging too far on that side for me, because I'm like, Vin, just go kill him at night. Like,
I think the swinging too far part was when Elend just said, "Yes, Breeze has been soothing you."
Yeah.
He should have just lied.
It's really interesting to see his philosophy on this stuff. He seems to think if we can't do this honest and in the open, then we're not going to do it,
Yeah, I agreed with Finn wholeheartedly about him being too honorable. Like, just don't. You could just not say it or not answer. But he's so noble and honorable to a fault.
Okay, and so after the meeting, Elend is talking with Penrod, and Penrod tells Elend that he is a good man, but Elend knows theories, while Penrod knows people. What good do dreams do when people are starving? Cett may be a tyrant, but he would be better than Straff, and they'd likely have given the city weeks ago to Cett if Elend hadn't stopped them with his whole proposal thing.
Oh.
And then Vin is talking with them, and Vin is talking with Elend and Breeze, and Vin says that Cett is certainly a Mistborn. What better way to hide being a Mistborn than pretending to be a cripple? Breeze says that Cett has been this way since childhood, and Vin thinks this is the best cover story she's ever heard. And then Cett's son, Njordan, comes over to talk to them. He tells Elend that Cett wants to meet with him, but Elend declines. And he also mentions that they might want to talk about his sister, whom they had kidnapped, and he gives a hostile glance to Breeze. Elend had met with Straff in Straff's army, so why not meet with Cett in Elend's army? So Elend agrees to have a dinner with Cett in a week. That's the end of that chapter.
I totally forgot that Ariane is the daughter of that guy.
You
I was
did?
like, yep. Yeah, I just didn't like put it together until that point where he's like, "Yep, you guys have my sister," and I was like, "A sister?" Yep, that was just cute.
So what are your thoughts on Cett here?
I don't like him. He's offering exactly what the people want, which is like a lot of people feel like this already, where they never asked for the Lord Ruler to be taken down. They just want things to go back to normal. Like for Scott and Nobles, they're kind of just like, can we just do that again? Like it was better than this. It was some kind of structure. And he's offering that and stuff, and I just think it would be such a waste to just give it back to just go back to that after all the work to take down the Lord Ruler.
Justin, your thoughts on Cett?
Cett? I think it's interesting to see how he contrasts from Straff. He's a lot bolder, a lot more reckless. I really like the part where he says he's always known that he was meant to lead, so he just tries to be as powerful as possible. I thought that was quite interesting. He, just seems like a very, very different character from the other guy.
We don't know how many mistresses he has, though. They might be similar.
Yeah, but his is probably going to be purely from a lust standpoint, where Straff's is from some kind of weird, petty, creepy thing. Like, I imagine Cett's more like a, what's his name, Genghis Khan type,
Oh, he's also crippled, so it might be.
Or is he?
You can't really use the cripple thing because he has at least 2 kids.
Yeah, but he's not going to be like Straff, where he's like needing 20 mistresses. He might take it easier because he's in a chair.
I don't know about that. Less work for you.
I guess I don't know. So
And I will say I love Straff. I found him hilarious. Whereas Cett. I love Cett. I found him hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay.
Straff is just a guy where almost anything he does, just like this is just anger. Like everything Straff does, just disgusting. Cett, the way he speaks, it's like I'm already here giving a speech. I'm talking to you. It's like you're just gonna bribe everybody. Yes, I am. I just find it so hilarious the way he's just so upfront, frank, and really is kind of given a I don't give a fuck attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what makes me think his threat is a real threat. Because people like that really stress me out because they're too honest and you can't really fight them because they don't care.
Yeah, that makes him quite dangerous.
Uh-huh. Like either way, I don't really care. If there's no way to win.
Anything else from this chapter you want to go over?
I'm
No,
very
good.
curious to see how Cett thinks of his daughter. If he likes her and cares about her, or if he just doesn't.
Oh, that's true. She could be his little princess or just like one of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm inclined to think that he really likes her because he brought her with. I think if
No, he
someone,
didn't.
yeah, brought her
To
with
this
to
war?
yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And also, he's really mad at Breeze. Like, if he didn't care, he wouldn't be that mad.
All right, now we'll move on to the last chapter we did this week, chapter Double 3. As the one who found Elend, however, I became someone important, foremost among the Worldbringers. So we begin with Vin looking over papers, thinking about how the Deepness has returned, and that must mean that the Hero of Ages has returned as well. She hears the thumping, and there was the time against the Lord Ruler where she drew on the mist to power her Allomancy. Does this mean that she is the Hero of Ages? She doesn't know much of the prophecies, but the prophecies also seem vague enough to mean almost any ska. Vin asks Orsier about prophecies, and he says they might just be a way of giving hope. And Vin figures out the kandra have a religion and asks if the keepers know about it. Orsier asks Vin not to let the keepers know about the kandra religion. He also mentions that their prophecies have to do with when the humans are all dead. The stories say that the humans will kill themselves off using the Koloss, as he explains that humans are of ruin while the kandra are of preservation. Vin feels like Orsier feels sorry for the kandra, and he says that there is a kind of bond between the two of them. They both know what it's like to be a slave and to be outsiders to the final empire. So, Justin, what was this part about the prophecies you want to talk about?
Oh, and he's saying something along about how prophecy is more of, maybe it's more of a hope than an actual specific thing. Maybe they're vague on people are just hoping for a future where some god or somebody will send people down to save them, you know. I thought that was interesting with all the talk of prophecy, you know, and all the talk of being worried about if you picked the right person or the wrong person and stuff, that there could very well be no real prophecy, you know, and you're just looking for anyone who could come in and help save everybody. However,
Yeah, I
then
thought
Vin encounters that if that's true, why is she hearing specific drumming as her counter to that in her head?
prophecies are really interesting in that they get more traction because some of it is actually based in facts and stuff. Like, might not be the hero of ages, but might be someone who has the power that can hear that drumming.
So then we jump over to Elend and Ham, and they're investigating a well in the city, and the well has been poisoned. They wonder as to who has done it. Elend figures that it's likely Straff, since this seems more like something that he would do. Oh, just a quick reminder, the city's still under siege, and there's no Steven Seagal to help them. All right. Now we cut back to Vin, and Vin goes into the palace library and finds Doxson there. She thinks about how he seems different now. Since Kelsier is dead, Doxson just seems more boring, and this has made Vin suspicious. So Vin asks Dox if he remembers the conversation they had back before the collapse about his childhood, and if he still feels the same way. Dox says he supposes that he doesn't. The nobles aren't all monsters like he once presumed. He knows that Vin wishes that he and Elend would get along better. Doc says that Elend is a decent man, but he lacks boldness and presence. Every time he talks to Elend, he sees Kelsier standing over his shoulder, shaking his head. The two of them had always hated the nobility. And even when they were just thieves, it was their way of punishing them. Now they put a noble on the throne, and Dox feels like Kelsier would be angry with him, even if Elend is a good man. Vin points out that Kelsier had changed towards the end, and that he had even saved Elend's life. He knew Elend was a good man, and that Vin loved him, and that's why he saved him. Doxson finds this hard to accept, because if he accepts that Elend bears no guilt for what his people did to Dox's people, then Dox must admit to being a monster for what he did to the Knolls. Doxson finds little joy in this government because he knows what they did to recreate it, and he knows that he'd do it all again. And Dox looks down in shame thinking about this, and Vin just quietly leaves.
This was a very interesting little character study into Doxson that I didn't expect. It's kind of like the book where you go the whole book without knowing him, and then he tells this really dark, sad story that just gives all this insight. It's kind of the same exact thing at around the same time in this book.
You're like, oh God, Doxson, what have you
Yeah.
done?
I didn't know you were going through all this. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Seems like him and Kelsier did some pretty dark stuff before all this happened.
Well, we did see what Kelsier was doing.
Yeah, we
Dox
didn't
was
say
100
Doxson doing it.
Well, but Dox was 100% on board.
Oh, I would be too if I were him.
All right, so now Vin's with Orsier, and she tells Orsier that this confirms that Doxson isn't the kandra. He knew about a conversation that only she and Doxson had. But Orseer says that kandra are very thorough. They will spend weeks beforehand talking to others around the target in order to get information on any possible small conversations that they can then use to prove themselves. Vin admits that she might have told Elend and Sazed of her conversation with Doxson, and Orseer says that this was all that could be needed. And he also tells her that there is a chance that the human who had killed Doxson would have tortured him beforehand to get any sort of information that he could use. And Vin says that she hates all this distrust. She hates being suspicious of her friends, and she doesn't want the kandra to be any of them. And then Vin sees somebody walking suspiciously in the dark. She follows this person and finds that it is Captain Demoux. He's walking around like he is anxious and nervous. And she thinks about how if she were to replace someone, then it wouldn't be an Allomancer because that'd be too easy to spot. She'd pick someone ordinary who wouldn't have to make decisions or attract notice. Someone who is always near important meetings, but who others don't know well. And Vin realizes that Demoux is the spy, but she thinks about what she will do about it now that she knows. And that's where we end our chapters this week.
Well, do you think she's right, Sheta?
I still think it's who I thought it was, but Vin is very insightful, and I don't know. She could be right, but it would be pretty disappointing for me. Because she's going to be like, oh, it's Demoux. She confronts him. He shapeshifts, or he fights, he reveals himself, and then he's tragically killed. And what else? He's like, oh, Demoux, we hardly knew him. Like, I just don't think that would be very exciting. Now, the part where this part happens, where she sees someone walking and it's actually Ham, right? For a second?
No, she was wondering who it was. But she said the walk was wrong.
I see. She thought it was him. So that moment I was like, oh my god, I was right for a second. Yeah, I hope it's not Demoux because I really like him too. And I think it would be kind of boring if it was him. Oh well.
It would be kind of boring. So I wonder if this is going to be a nice thing for Vin where she doesn't have to have one of her good friends be dead, you know? Because, I mean, I would prefer it's him. I don't want any of our friends to be dead. That would make me sad.
It's so sad. It's like, oh, it's okay. It's just a mood. Like he's been with them a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been as loyal as anyone else. Like, I always had a soft spot for Demoux, but yeah, I think it would just be too sad and too boring if it was him. I still am thinking it's Ham.
All right. Anything else about this chapter you two want to go over?
Nope.
All right. So then we'll move on to the theories and, predictions segment. Do you believe that the Hero of Ages has returned?
I think that there's somebody who's tied to the well based on their powers and can hear it, but I don't know that I believe they're the quote, like, Hero of Ages. I don't know that I believe that's a thing.
Yeah, it's gotta be because Vin killed the Lord Ruler that's happening.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same.
It would be because things like that in myths and in legend and prophecy type things, it seems all like mystical, but usually it's something just logical or something like that does make sense. Like she did kill him. She was there when he was destroyed and stuff like that. So yeah, in a way, yes, the Hero of Ages is reborn.
So then, Sheta said that she still thinks it's Ham. Justin, have you changed your idea on who you think the secret kandra is?
Well, my old one, Spook, I don't believe they undid that. My other choice, I always thought it might be not Delilah, Demoux, yeah. And I can't see any reason it wouldn't be him, or that it would be someone else. Unless it's some convoluted thing like Sheta's saying, where there's some secret trick to it.
Yeah. I just think, like, having it be like, oh, I wouldn't pick someone with powers and stuff, because that would be too obvious. I don't know, it would just be too simple.
All right, and then we have our candidates for king. You have Penrod, you have Elend, and you have Cett. Who do you think's gonna win the election?
Well, I don't really want Cett to win, personally.
I don't want him to win, but I think it would be more interesting if he did win.
I don't think it'd be interesting at all if he won, personally.
Really? Then they
Mm-mm.
would have to like. Well, I don't think. I think he would win, but not hold the throne for very long because something bad would happen to him. I think him winning would just cause drama for a little bit, but I I think Ellen will just win again.
Are any other theories or predictions that the two of you have?
I have one about the Colas because we learn in here through Orseer that the Colas and Kandra have kind of like a bond because they're kind of similar creatures. So I have a theory about um Ellen's old friend who's leading the Colas. What's his name again?
Jastes the Cal.
Yes, Jastes. I think he has been replaced by Kandra, and they have made some kind of pact, and that's why the Colas are following him.
What would be the point of replacing him with a kandra?
Well, not yet, but I think there's plans to do it. I think there's a Cola or
Oh,
a
you think they'll
Kandra
do that
among them.
later?
Yeah, they'd be like, being like, yeah, we'll follow him for now, but once we get up there, we're gonna replace him and actually take over and stuff.
I don't know. I'm not compelled by that one, Sheta.
It's just a little thought I had.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, the mystery of why they're following him is kind of bothers me. So
All right. Anything else?
I have this feeling too that I don't know. I This was just another thought that just fluttered in my head, so forgive me. That what's Set will make a deal with Ellen that if he marries his daughter that he could stay king and
Which would
have a
only matter if he can keep the ska free, though, And I don't think that that's something Set is willing to do, because he specifically said what am I trying to say? The ska will work, the nobles will rule. But if
yeah, but
somehow he can overcome that, I think that could be very likely, you know?
yeah. I think he might be like I think if it's swinging more of Ellen's way or I don't know. If he kind of doesn't really care about that much and he's like I've got enough to rule over so I don't really want to be king, but I don't know. He might delegate to Ellen and be willing to set up a deal
I think
for his
all Ellen
armies.
cares about is the ska being free. If it's something within that, I think it could work.
Yeah.
However, it's set up because he has to choose between Vin or the good of the kingdom. So all that stuff is set up if they want to go that route.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not just making stuff up.
No,
Okay. Well, it'll be very exciting.
it'd be horrible.
Yeah, because now if Ellen marries Alrianne, now you're upsetting Ellen because he doesn't want to be in that marriage. Alrianne doesn't want to be in that marriage. Breeze doesn't want that to happen. Vin doesn't want that to happen. Everyone's upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome
Drama.
to noble politics.
Yeah.
The only
Tinville
one,
will be happy.
the only one that would be happy is Zane.
And Spooks. Vin's back on the market.
I don't think poor Spook has any chance with Vin.
I think Spook's moved on.
Yeah, I don't think he's still interested in her. I don't think she's his new type.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how big of a bust Vin has.
I don't think it's that big. I actually think we do know that it's not.
Yes, actually, she did talk about not being
Mhm.
able to fill out her dress as much. But this
Yeah.
was before she turned 18 or whatever. Oh,
Yeah, but I think she's got more of a kind of skinnier body type.
yeah, she's lean.
Hmm.
So yeah, Spook grew up and he likes boobies.
All right. Well, let's move on to characters and quotes of the week. Doo doo doo.
I forbid that being our official music
Nope,
cue
that
for
is
that.
every time we do it. I want to
Well,
hear
No,
it.
sorry,
I
Justin.
forbid it.
Nope. Sheeta's the one that had the free reroll this week.
Damn it, Sheta!
For a point of
Haha.
inspiration.
What have you done?
So yeah, let's go with our characters.
My
My
character is
favorite.
going to be Orseer. For God knows what reason, I've been fighting against really liking him the whole book. I don't know why. I do that weirdly sometimes. But every time he talks and talks more about his personality and stuff, I like him more and more. I'm just going to officially say it's him this time.
Because he came out a little bit more out of his shell, huh?
Well, yeah, we get to know him more and more, you know.
Yeah. My favorite for these chapters will be Elend. Similar to you, Justin, I've been fighting liking Elend too since his first appearance, and I finally like him and accept him. And maybe even have a little crush on him.
What did he do to make you gain a crush on him?
I'll tell you in the quote, because I also have a quote from him.
All right. And my character, pretty much from what I said earlier, probably won't be a surprise, but it's got to be Cett.
Boo!
I found his appearance just very shocking, and it was just a really oh shit moment. The way he comes in, just starts talking, and just being like, yeah, fuck y'all, I'm from Texas.
That's not how I read it.
I totally got that attitude from him too. I was like, I don't live around here, but like, you guys do things in your way, but over where I live, we do it like this. It's big and it's bold. Sorry if you're from Texas. It's just.
I was just quoting a line from Red versus Blue. It might have been one of their PSAs. I just remember being like, yeah, you got. I can't remember which character it was, being like, yeah, I just went there and I was just, people didn't like me. I was just there wearing a shirt that said, fuck y'all, I'm from Texas.
I love that attitude. I just don't like freaking Cett coming in like that. Yeah.
Like I said, like first time when I went through this story, it was, just kept hearing about him so long. So all of a sudden, where it's just like, I nominate Ashweather Cett, and he takes off the hood. I'm just like, holy fuck. Especially Breeze being like, oh shit. All right. And then we will go on to the quotes then.
Justin, you always start.
Oh, I'm pulling out my quote.
Okay.
And that's not true.
Otherwise, Sheta, if you're ready, just go.
I've got mine.
See, every time I want to say it, Justin interrupts me to say his. So
it's Elend thinking about something he read after Penrod talks with him, And it says, we have seen a curious phenomenon associated with rebel groups that break off of the final empire and attempt to seek autonomy. In almost all cases, the Lord Ruler didn't need to send his armies to reconquer the rebels. By the time his agents arrived, the groups had overthrown themselves. It seems that the rebels found the chaos of transition more difficult to accept than the tyranny they had known before. They joyfully welcomed back authority, and even oppressive authority, for it was less painful for them than uncertainty. I like that because, one, we get to see kind of an idea of the kind of books Elend is reading. And the other thing I liked was, that happens so often when you overthrow the big thing, that's actually the easy part. The hard part comes after that, here in real life. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah, that quote made me mad too.
And I know that is
mad?
Yeah, because that's what's happening.
I see.
Go ahead.
That is what?
That is something that Brand Sanderson did say was like his inspiration behind this book and stuff is, because so many fantasy books, you end with overthrowing like the big bad. So you want to do something showing what it's actually like to have to build up a government after this evil person's gone and the troubles you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Sheta, your quote?
Okay. Yes, this is where I started to like Elend. Okay, so this is when he's addressing people at the assembly, and he finishes like catching everyone up on what happened with his dad, and then he starts to leave, and they're just like, aren't you forgetting something? And he's like, looks at everybody and is like, what is it you all want me to say? Don't you have a reaction? One of the ska workers said. About what happened at the last meeting? You've received my missive, Elend said. You know how I feel about the matter. However, this public forum is not a place for accusations or denunciations. The assembly is too noble a body for that kind of thing. I wish that a time of danger were not when the assembly had chosen to voice its concerns, but we cannot alter what has happened. He moved to sit. That's it? Asked one of the ska. You're not even gonna argue for yourself or try and persuade us to reinstate you? Elend paused again. No, he said. No, I don't think I will. You have made your opinions known to me, and I am disappointed. However, you are the representatives chosen by the people. I believe in the power that you have been given. If you have questions or challenges, I will be happy to defend myself. However, I am not going to stand and preach my virtues. You all know me. You know what I can do and what I intend to do for the city and the surrounding populace. Let that stand as my argument. He returned to his seat. Then Vin could see hints of a frown on Tyndall's face. Elend hadn't given the speech he had prepared. A speech giving the very arguments the assembly was obviously expecting. So I liked that part because it just showed Elend. I don't know, I just liked him being like kind of pissy, but sticking to what he believed in about all that stuff, you know? And it wasn't like,
It wasn't petty. Yeah, he made his point
yeah,
in a
it
good
wasn't
way.
petty. hmm He was just like, yeah, I'm disappointed. Like, I made all this for you guys, and this is what you decided to do, you know? I'm not gonna do anything like, what do you want me to do? Argue and like fight you and stuff like that? Like, it just really showed that he stood by his words and the things he believed in. And like, yeah, even when everyone, even Tyndall, who he's been following, who he says is wise and you should listen to, he fights against her too. So I just thought he was really strong in standing up for his beliefs and very mature in how he dealt with that. And very badass by saying, like, by not giving everybody what they want. I like it.
I also think it shows a good difference in his character because I feel like he would not have done that at the beginning of the book, before Tyndall started training him.
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw him in the assembly, kind of being weak and ineffectual and getting into arguments with everybody else. I feel that he likely would have gone up there and given like the speech and why they shouldn't do this and stuff in a much different way and all
Now,
that.
see, this isn't fair. Just basically what that Violin was saying he'd say. Yeah, this whole part where Elend shows up with his entourage wearing his kingly outfit, that just made me go, ooh, Elend, I didn't know you were so cool. He finally is being kingly and stuff.
And that scene would be like the scenes from all like the high school movies where you have like the popular girls walking down the hallway in slow motion, everyone just watching. It's just Elend walking down with his crew.
Yep. Yes, this is the part, the Taming of the Shrew reveal part.
All right, so mine, same with my Ashweather Cett theme I have going. Good, Cett said, because unlike the boy over there, I intend to tell you exactly why you should make me king. And that is because I've got an army on your damn doorstep. The assembly looked taken aback. A threat, Cett? Elend asked calmly. No, Venture, Cett replied. Simply honesty. Something you central noblemen seem to avoid at all costs. A threat is only a promise turned around. What was it you told these people? That your mistress had her knife at Straff's throat? So were you implying that if you weren't elected, you'd have your Mistborn withdraw and let the city be destroyed? Elend flushed. Of course not. Of course not, Cett repeated. He had a loud voice, unapologetic, forceful. Well, I don't pretend and I don't hide. My army is here, and my intention is to take the city, but I'd much rather you just give it to me then. You, sir, are a tyrant, Penrod said flatly. So? I'm a tyrant with 40,000 soldiers. That's twice what you've got guarding these walls.
Oh, if Elend would have said, yes, I am doing that threat, he probably would have respected him more, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he definitely
Yeah, I didn't
would
think
have.
of that when I was reading that, but that's... Of course not. What a loser. I would have said yes. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I go on, sorry.
This is like Elend going too noble on both ends, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I like that. I just find Cett hilarious and like his straightforwardness. You're a tyrant. Yeah, I am. I got more fucking troops than you.
Yeah.
2 comments, both put onto our what is this? Well of Ascension Chapters 12 through 16. So first is from Krinko Shade 4814, and this one they were the person where before they had mentioned that they liked the artwork that Sheta had done. They found it surprising how close it was with Sheta not knowing anything.
Oh, yeah, for not having read it. Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. So first they say, This book really captures feelings of paranoia and doubt. Just in noticing small clues in the dialogue of multiple characters is so on theme. Right?
That
And
part freaked me out. Go on, sorry.
Also, I finally got your reply. YouTube, for some reason, didn't notify me. I think you will understand why I was so impressed with your artwork after you have read further into Cosmere books.
So there's more to be impressed by.
All right, now, then we also have a
what
long
were the
one.
clues? Sorry.
What?
What were the clues, the subtext?
Well, I think that one was just like Justin trying to find clues with like how all the different characters were acting a little bit differently.
Yeah, I was freaking out that everyone could be the kandra, you know?
Yeah. That was a freaky part.
All right, so next one. This will be a longer comment, kind of going into, an analysis on Elend. So we'll see how you guys, if you agree, disagree. But I think it's pretty good. And this is from Matthew Grady, 5895. Right. No, you guys were so close to understanding what Elend meant to be a character. He is meant to be the yin to Vin's yang. While she is skeptical and untrusting, he is the opposite. He trusts people automatically and loses his trust in others when they do something to earn it. Vin is the opposite. She doesn't trust anyone unless they earn it. That's why she is so drawn to him, because he is an optimist to her pessimist. Elend doesn't believe that someone will kill him because he trusts his guards and Vin. But due to his knowledge of Straff, he knows that he is the type of father to kill his only son if it means Straff will get to wear the crown. When he speaks with the crew and later says none of them are the kandra, it's because he trusts them. None of them have done anything to earn his skepticism yet. It's like Shan. He knew her long before she started to want him dead. And unless there's proof of someone doing something, he will continue to act as if they aren't, because that's what a good person does. What does panicking about them do? He has to trust them anyway, and talking to each crew member separately and assigning them secret tasks to not tell each other will both accomplish nothing, but turn against the whole point of his and Kelsier's teaching. Don't forget how Vin thought after the first meeting of the crew, and how Kelsier said, if you're free to go, go. He told Vin he found that trust is a lot better, and one of the best chapters of Final Empire, and Vin agreed. Is this me ranting about Elend? Yes, probably, because he's what a good person is. You brought up that Elend knew Tensoon, the Venture House kandra. Yes, he did. And he either didn't know much about kandra teachings. We saw that Orsir was pretty tight-lipped a few chapters ago. So he wouldn't know, or he does know how good a kandra is, and therefore he would have no way of knowing who it was based on reading a person's reactions or quizzing him. So Elend does what is best. Trust them until one of them does something that is actually deserving of being analyzed.
Well, I certainly agree with what the characters find in each other and them being, basically opposite characters in a lot of ways. I think that's a really good analysis. I also agree that Elend is a good man. I think he's a very good man. I just think that there are things a good man does not see or think to do that can put the whole kingdom at danger. That's my only feeling about that. Otherwise, though, yes, I actually agree with everything that was said in there.
Yeah, I feel like that. And, we see that a lot in this one, too, because Elend's good nature is making him lose the, what's happening,
Mm-hmm. Yes, he doesn't want to lie, which is a dangerous thing for a leader to not want to do.
Like, I think this is what people criticized about him early on, too, about being king, like
the actual people of the kingdom?
The people around him, like the crew and Tindwell and stuff, like, not being bad enough, I guess,
Well, yeah, an effective king is not going to be one who's worried about everybody or worried about, not everybody, worried about
keeping the throne,
doing what's morally good, that's what I'm saying. An effective king would be like Cett,
yeah,
which I personally would not want as a king, but
yeah.
I really like the assessment about the trust, not trust thing. I can't believe I hadn't realized that, but that seems very obvious now as a theme of those two characters.
Yeah, and I'd forgotten about I'd forgotten that too, and reading that just made me remember, the one part with Kelsier where he was talking to Vin, being like, would I rather have never loved Mare and not be betrayed, or have loved her and gotten betrayed anyways? And I'd always choose the lover and betrayal. I think that really good, and that's a scene where we all were like, oh yeah, that's really good. And then it's like, that's sort of the same thing that Elend would be doing is, I'll trust them all and I'll take a betrayal.
So I
Yeah.
think that there is a way to trust and be incredibly, incredibly cautious that you may have a spy amongst you in every meeting you do. I think there's a way to do both. I think it's in character for Elend not to think too much about it, but I personally think there's a way to do both.
Yeah. That's really funny. Because it's a little bit almost like metaphoric or, like it's just the idea, like, I'm going to trust them. When Vin decides she's not really going to investigate because she doesn't want to think bad of the people of her friends, the idea is very good, but
Well, Vin's the only one who is investigating. That's what frustrates me the most. I'm like, you should be investigating at every second to narrow it down because you don't want to be friends with somebody who's actually a creepy ass shapeshifter betraying your entire kingdom, If somebody did that to me, I would want them to find out about it immediately,
yeah. Also, because they might have killed one of your friends.
Mhm.
I would just want to figure out that mystery.
Yeah. But Orsir's also saying there's almost no real way to know, too. That's the really frustrating part,
I see. Yeah, there's that aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
So worrying about it, being paranoid and distrustful is not really beneficial.
To a point, But
Yeah.
like when Straff knows that was their plan when they come over and stuff, I think that it's hard to be an effective leader and be trustful. I think that's what I'm trying to say, without being
Yeah.
quite paranoid,
Yeah.
So I'm
I
really
do
curious if the plot's going to be that Elend is a horrible king but a good man, and that you can't be both, or if the plot is going to be that you should not give up on being a good man and a good ruler. You know what I mean? You shouldn't just go with what's pragmatic, I'm really curious to see what the quote moral of the story is going to be at the end of it, especially with
I think
Cett now there to be the exact opposite of Elend,
Yeah. I think it would be such a nice feeling to have Ellen win by following all the rules and being honest and nice. Like, and
I
have
can't
good
even
really
guess. I'm
conquer
curious.
evil, and have it be like, yep, it's good we trusted everybody too. The kandra, like,
Well,
it
it's
didn't tear
interesting because the
apart.
Kandra's not evil. Like Orsir said, he'll probably know him and he's just following a contract, So I'm very curious with that.
Yeah, maybe we'll get another kandra on the crew. Kandra spook. I really like seeing or being told and reminded about the Ellen and Vin contrast. I really like
Yeah,
that.
no, I really like that. That was a really good comment. That is something we were overlooking.
We're just hating on Ellen.
No, I was never hating on Elend. No, God, no. I like
It's like,
Elend a
oh,
lot.
you idiot.
Yeah, well, idiot might not be the right word, but it's painful to watch people you care about make choices that you can see leading down a path where they very well might die,
Yeah. And I think how we were reacting was much more he was just being too naive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I do still stand by.
Because he is representing super niceness, naivety. So I think it's it's not
Well,
a
he's
bad
doing an
thing.
interesting thing, He's trying to, you've got to choose between your morality, and, doing whatever you got to do to get the job done to, the ends justify the means kind of things,
Yeah, you
And
got to
he's
be
been
king and ruler
Mhm.
if you're gonna change things. So
Because that's what I keep forgetting her name, but the girl training him kind of thinks, So it's
Tyndall.
really interesting that he
Yeah.
has consistently been picking morality the whole time, being honest, being virtuous, being good, being trusting, which, I really admire characters who stand by their morals in the face of everything telling them that. That's what I can say about that.
We did get a new review. Let me look that up.
Is it a 1-star review? I'm curious to hear
No.
that.
Do we have anything like that?
No.
Okay.
But so
I
we
don't want to
got
know.
so we did get a new review on Podcast Addict. So this one is from Ninja Nuggets.
I approve of the name.
Very entertaining and insightful discussion. They also mention or clarify things that I didn't pick up on when I read. I look forward to this podcast each week as I read through the Cosmere.
Yay.
I'm glad to hear that. That's a very positive comment.
All right.
Yes, thank you very kindly. And I'm glad to know that somebody out there is appreciating the large amounts of talking about, random story points and things.
Yeah, so if anybody else, if you want to, leave a review, leave a comment, email us. We will respond. All right. But now let's look forward to next week. So for next week, we will be reading, I believe, 5 chapters. Chapters 34 through 38. It's 34 through 38. That's that. So we will now go and end things with our plugs.
All right, for my art and crafts, you can follow my Instagram, Sheta_low. And for cosplay and fashion, you can follow my other Instagram, Mermaid Machete.
I've got nothing weird to say. I'll just say you can follow at the place I've said you can follow every time. Go follow there. And if you follow me from this podcast for some reason, say I have followed you from this podcast for some reason, and I will respond with some emoji of some sort. It'll be totally worth it.
A clown emoji.
No, anyone but that.
Well, I will respond if I see that message because I'll see it too. Because that would be so crazy.
Sheeta, on yours, you literally posted the art on your Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, if I see someone who follows Justin from the Cosmere, like a Patreon, I'll be like, whoa, hi, I'm on there too.
All right, and then if you want to, like I said, leave comments, reviews, do that. If you want to email us directly, because your places don't allow comments or reviews, CosmereChronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to leave us a tweet on, Key Most Ancient Letter, formerly known as Twitter.
Joe, you can't call it a tweet if it's a key. You need a new name for it.
Yeah.
What do they call it?
Something stupid. But it's called Key in Joe's mind, so he's not allowed to say what they call it now or what they used to.
Well, all right. All right, well, for next week, I will try to come up with a Kingdom Hearts reference for that.
There you go. That'll be solid.
But, you can do that, and at CosmereChron, CosmereChron, you can do that. And, that will be it. So, once again, chapters 34 through 38 for next week. So, come back, listen to us some more, and join us on our journey as we hang out some more with Vin and the crew. So, see ya.
Crew.
Vin and Team Venture.
I guess you're not wrong.
Hate it.
All right, so bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, were you